people were told to load creatine, and that looks like 20 grams a day for about a week. And this is to saturate those muscles faster. And technically, well, this works. But here's the part that, most people may not want to hear. It's not necessary, guys. It's not necessary.
What's up, guys? I'm Jeremiah, a dual board-certified NP who has been burned out on traditional insurance-based medicine. The solution? Hormones happen. This podcast is for you. If you want to learn the truth about hormone replacement therapy, peptides, and even direct primary care, join me in talking with hundreds of practitioners about what's really going on behind the scenes.
Welcome back to another episode of Hormones Happen. I'm your host, Jeremiah, also known as the Optimized NP on TikTok. And I apologize for those of you who are just listening. I did a really cringy bicep flex, okay? But today, guys, we're talking about one of the most well-studied supplements in the whole world. We're talking about creatine monohydrate. Now, to really understand creatine, we have to go back in time. Let's start with a little history lesson about how creatine even came onto the scene. So creatine was first identified back in 1832. That's when scientists discovered it was inside skeletal muscle, like your biceps, your legs. Now, even back then, they noticed something pretty interesting. When people ate meat, creatine levels in their muscles went up. And when muscles work harder, creatine got used faster. Now, fast forward to the and researchers they uncovered what's called phosphocreatine. Now, this is a stored form of creatine that helps your cells rapidly regenerate what's called adenosine triphosphate, or ATP. Remember this is important. And this is basically your body's instant energy system. Now, this is what powers short, intense efforts. And as we know now, supports brain energy too. Creatine didn't reach mainstream until the early 90s. When Olympic-level athletes, and some of you may know these individuals, such as Linford Christie, Sally Gunnell, and Colin Jackson, began using it. And from there, creatine monohydrate became the gold standard because it was effective, stable, affordable, and incredibly well-studied. In fact, there are roughly 500 to 1,000 peer-reviewed studies on creatine, most of them creatine monohydrate. And here's the key point here. Over the last 30 years, creatine has become one of the most researched supplements on the planet, not just for strength and muscle, but for cognition, aging, recovery, and overall cellular energy, which is a huge reason why we're talking about it today. So while creatine might look like a gym supplement, and it's been marketed as one for a very long time on the surface, it's really a foundational molecule for overall human performance, both physical and mental. The big question is, how do you get it? And why should I supplement? Well, creatine is found naturally in animal muscle, with the highest sources being red meats like beef, pork, and bison. But it's also found in other meats like fish and chicken as well, just in smaller amounts. You might be saying, well, I eat tons of meat, Jeremiah. Do I even need to supplement with this? And the answer is yes. Here's the reality. Even if you eat a lot of red meat or fish, most people only get about 1 or 2 grams of creatine per day from food sources. And that's before you factor in cooking, which actually destroys some of it. So the research shows that to fully saturate your muscles and your brain, you typically need 3 to 5 grams per day. Okay, that's a level most people don't reach through diet alone, unless they're eating pounds of meat every single day, which some people do. And even then, arguably, you'd still benefit. There's also demands to consider too. As we age, during periods of stress, intense training, poor sleep, even high cognitive load, our cells are burning through ATP faster. And creatine, as we talked about earlier, helps to recycle this ATP. It's like a backup battery for both the muscle and the brain. So supplementation isn't about replacing meat. It's about closing the gap on what our diet provides and what your cells actually use to perform at their best. You know why creatine is something you should probably look into. How does it work though? Well, at the most basic level, creatine helps your cells produce energy more quickly. But nobody listening to this podcast is basic, so let's go deeper, shall we? I want you to think of a race car pit crew here, okay? Your muscles run on ATP, the way that a race car runs on fuel. The problem is that ATP depletes quickly, especially during heavy lifts, sprints, or explosive movements. Creatine acts like a pit crew standing right next to the engine. Inside the muscle cells, creatine is stored as phosphocreatine, like we talked about. And when ATP runs low, phosphocreatine instantly hands over a phosphate group, and that refuels ATP on the spot. No waiting, no delays. If mitochondria are the long haul fuel trucks, creatine is like a nitrous boost, not for longer distance, but for immediate power and recovery between your efforts, your exercises. Now, supplementing creatine increases the size of this pit crew essentially. More phosphocreatine means faster ATP refueling, more reps before breakdown, quicker recovery between sets. There's also a cell hydration effect. Now, this is important. Creatine pulls water into the muscle cell, making it swell. Think of this as inflating a balloon inside the muscle. That stretch sends signals that basically say we need reinforcement, and that promotes muscle protein synthesis and reduces breakdown. With that being said, many, not all, will notice some weight gain when taking creatine, roughly 1 to 3 pounds after starting. This is a result of increased fluid retention in the muscles. This does not cause the same kind of swelling you would see with conditions like cardiac or kidney disease, where you have bloating and puffiness everywhere. Rather, it's inside the muscles. And we call this intracellular hydration. It's actually a good thing. That internal swelling does a couple things. It improves leverage and force production. It reduces protein breakdown, and it signals the muscles that it's in a growth-friendly environment. So most researchers consider this water shift an anabolic signal, not a side effect. And while the effects on muscle are cool, the effects on the brain are cooler. I want you to think about creatine as an uninterruptible power supply for your neurons. The brain is one of the most energy demanding organs in the body, but unlike muscle, it has almost no energy storage. It's running in real time, all the time. Creatine in the brain works like a battery backup system, the kind of data centers used to prevent crashes when the power flickers, okay? And your neurons, they're constantly firing signals. They're maintaining ion gradients, releasing neurotransmitters, and processing information. All of that costs ATP. When energy demands spike during stress, sleep deprivation, or mental overload, creatine steps in to stabilize the system. Phosphocreatine keeps ATP levels steady at the synapse, like a surge protector preventing blowouts. Now, instead of your brain slowing down or misfiring, it stays online now, and we're still using the computer analogies here. And that's why creatine's been studied for things like mental fatigue, focus under stress, mood stability, neuroprotection, cognitive aging. It goes on and on and on. And the most important thing about creatine is that it's not a stimulant like caffeine. It doesn't essentially rev the engine. It just prevents those power outages. So even people who are stimulant intolerant can have creatine. Well, how's it supplied? You've probably seen creatine at GNC or a supplement shop and noticed there are several different types. Well, let's talk about them and which one is best, which one is the winner here. So let's start with creatine ethyl ester. The claim on this one is it has better absorption, less water retention. Reality: breaks down into creatine in the gut. It is inferior at raising muscle creatine levels. And it's more expensive. More expensive, less effective. Who wants that? The next one, buffered creatine. Now, the claim on this one is it's more stable and less upsetting for the stomach. The reality on this one is creatine monohydrate is already stable in the stomach. Studies show no meaningful performance advantage, and it's really just a marketing solution to a non-problem. It's marketing propaganda. Moving on to creatine hydrochloride. This one's claim is better solubility, smaller doses needed. Well, the reality is it dissolves well, but there's no strong evidence that it works better. There's very few studies that look at this. and it's very expensive compared to creatine monohydrate. Now, this one's a bit more nuanced. Liquid creatine. This one is convenient. That's the claim, right? Super convenient. Reality, creatine degrades in liquid over time. And it often delivers less active creatine than actually advertised. So which one wins? Well, we haven't talked about it yet. Creatine monohydrate, guys, the gold standard. Simply, it's creatine bound to a single water molecule. Simple, stable, proven. Now, why does this matter? It's the most studied form of creatine by a huge margin. Consistently increases muscle and brain creatine stores, proven benefits for strength, power, cognition, aging, and it's safe. Not to mention it's cheap, guys. Cheap, stable, well absorbed. I can go on and on. It's all you need and nothing you don't. Probably the biggest question I get asked when someone is starting creatine is, I get it. You've tried hundreds of supplements in the past with disappointing results. Forget it. It ends now. At Velasco Supplements, we don't just sell supplements. We provide solutions. Having treated thousands of men and women with difficulty sleeping, low energy, and just not feeling like themselves, we've developed these specific formulations based on clinical guidelines and science. We've only included what works and nothing that doesn't. All supplements are third-party tested with clear, transparent labeling. Because while I'm proud of what's in them, I'm even more proud of what's not. It's time to get the results you've been waiting for this whole time. Check out VelascoSupplements.com and see if we have a solution for you. Do I need to load it? Traditionally, people were told to load creatine, and that looks like 20 grams a day for about a week. And this is to saturate those muscles faster. And technically, well, this works. But here's the part that, most people may not want to hear. It's not necessary, guys. It's not necessary. I want you to think of creatine like filling up a gas tank. A loading phase is like dumping fuel in there with a fire hose. You fill the tank quickly, but anything extra just spills over. A standard daily dose is like filling up with a normal pump. It takes a little longer, but you end up at the same exact result, a full tank of gas. And so what does that look like? Typically, I recommend 5 grams a day. Muscle creatine stores are still fully saturated. Takes about 3 to 4 weeks instead of 5 to 7 days. And the other thing too is with loading, sometimes I'll actually see a backfire because aggressive loading increases the amount of creatine that's sitting in the gut and the bloodstream before the muscles can even absorb it. And a lot of people will experience GI upset, bloating, cramping, and of course, this is going to be that situation where you have much more fluid accumulation, rapid water shifts. And so it's not that creatine is a problem, it's just that the dose exceeds your transport capacity of the body in the short term. We have to think long term with creatine. When you think creatine, think consistency long term. We can probably all agree at this point, at least, that creatine is beneficial. But what about the claims of kidney damage, dehydration, hair loss? Yeah, let's unpack these myths so we can finally move on with our lives, guys. Myth 1, creatine is a steroid. All right, guys, the truth is creatine is not a hormone, not synthetic testosterone, and it's not an anabolic steroid. Creatine is a naturally occurring compound, like I said, found in meat, fish, your own muscle cells, and your body already makes 1 to 2 grams per day. So calling creatine a steroid is like calling a protein a drug because it helps build muscle. Myth number 2, creatine damages your kidneys. This myth comes from a lot of confusion and not so much evidence. Creatine can slightly increase serum creatinine, which is a marker of kidney function, not kidney damage. And in healthy individuals, hundreds of studies have shown no adverse effects on kidney function, even with long-term use. It's like saying that exercise is dangerous because your heart rate goes up during a workout. Now, I will put a caveat there is if you have pre-existing kidney damage, that could change things a little bit. But even so, very safe for the kidneys. Myth number 3, creatine causes dehydration and cramping. Well, as we talked about, the opposite is usually true. Creatine increases intracellular hydration. Remember, water inside the muscle cells. Multiple studies show no increased risk of cramps or dehydration, even in athletes training in the heat. And the other thing too with the hydration is you don't need to excessively hydrate. Normal hydration is completely fine. Myth number 4, creatine makes you gain fat. Well, we talked about the weight gain aspects of this, and, the good news is creatine has 0 calories and does not increase fat mass whatsoever. The early weight gain you see, typically 1 to 3 pounds, is water inside the muscle cells, not fat. And over time, in fact, creatine can improve body composition by supporting harder training sessions and improvement in lean body mass. Myth number 5, creatine is only for bodybuilders. Well, although athletes discovered this, everyone can benefit from it. Creatine's been studied in women, older adults, vegetarians, cognitive and neurological populations. I have patients who are 80 years old on creatine, and they are absolutely thriving. Myth number 6, creatine causes hair loss. There is no direct evidence that creatine causes hair loss. This myth comes from a single small study that showed a rise in DHT, not actual hair loss. And it hasn't been replicated meaningfully since. What is the best way to take this? So rounding out this episode, I'm going to give you 5 tips that can help you get the most out of your creatine. Number 1, be consistent. This is the most important. This matters more than anything. Creatine works by saturating tissues, not acute stimulation. Take it every day, even on rest days. Rest days slow that saturation and benefits. Tip number 2, stick to the right dose. 5 grams per day is ideal. You don't need more. You don't need less. Higher doses don't improve results. They typically just give you a stomachache. Tip number 3, timing matters less than you think. Doesn't matter when you take it. You can take it in the morning. You can take it at night. Take it when you'll remember. You could take it with or without food. Pre or post-workout. Difference is minimal. A lot of people take it post-workout, and I'll tell you why. Tip number 4, pair it with carbs or protein. This is optional but can be helpful. Insulin helps shuttle creatine into the muscles. So taking creatine with a meal can slightly improve the uptake. It's not required, but it could be helpful. Number 5, this one's huge. Give it time. It's not caffeine. The muscle benefits can take weeks. The brain benefits can take longer. Subtle improvements will show up over time with patience. Now let's bring this home, guys. Creatine isn't a trend, a shortcut, or a gym gimmick, okay? It's one of the most researched compounds in human performance because it works at the most fundamental level, cellular energy. In muscle tissue, creatine helps regenerate ATP so you can train harder, recover faster, and preserve lean muscle mass. In the brain, it acts as an energy buffer, helping you stay mentally resilient during stress, fatigue, and aging. You don't need a loading phase. You don't need fancy forms. You don't need to cycle it. Just simple daily dose of creatine monohydrate taken consistently. Any early weight gain is water inside the muscles, not fat. The safety concerns you hear, they don't hold up, guys. No research on them. Creatine isn't about stimulation, it's about support. It doesn't push your body beyond its limits. It helps your cells do what they're already designed to do, just more efficiently. So whether your goal is strength, recovery, focus, or long-term health, creatine definitely earns its place as a foundational supplement, not because it's exciting, but because it's reliable.
That's a wrap. Thanks for joining us today for another great episode. I hope you found this useful and look forward to helping you move forward in your continued pursuit of knowledge. It doesn't have to end here, though. Check us out on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. If you want to be on an episode of Hormones Happen, shoot us a message at hormoneshappen@stillcity-trt.com. Stay hungry, stay optimized.